Hello, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Very excited for today's webinar. This is a webinar that I have been wanting to do and anticipating for a very, very long time. So I'm very, very happy to share with you that we have Pauley, Vice President of Integrity Marketing Group, joining us here today. Alan, thank you so much for being with us and joining today's webinar.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. It's great to be here, and I'm very excited about us doing this together. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's so exciting. I know just the topic of how to sell final expense and really helping agents understand the need for it and how to have those conversations with clients is so powerful. Just to give everybody a little bit of background, I was listening to Alan present on this how to sell final expense back in late summer, early fall was the time frame. My first time listening to his presentation, and he really hit a topic that really kind of made me very passionate about the need for final expense. And I'm like, we have to tell more people about this. We have to tell more agents. We have to coach them on how to sell this because this is so powerful. And it was that a GoFundMe account is not a life insurance policy or a final expense policy. And that really kind of hit home to me that you see so many people out there on social media marketing out these GoFundMe accounts, and they wouldn't have to go through that if they would have a final expense policy. And I don't want to take away Alan's thunder or Alan's presentation, but that really hit home to me. And I hope that as you're listening to Alan's presentation today, you get several different ideas on how to talk about final expense and the need for it. So I am going to let Alan go through his presentation. After he goes through his presentation on how to sell final expense, I'm also going to be showing you how you can use CSG's quoting tool to quote your final expense plans and how you can pull up your client's Medicare plan alongside a final expense plan and really show them one full portfolio to present over to your clients. So you all have access to that CSG tool to do that. So before we get started, a couple of questions that we have for you just so we can really tailor this webinar to you all and really get a better understanding of all the agents that we have on today's training. We had close to 1,000 agents register for this training today, so we're very, very excited about it. But that means that there's a lot of you that we just need to better understand the agents that we have on today's webinar. So my first question for you all is, what % of your Medicare clients do you discuss final expense with? So if you wouldn't mind just answering that full question for us, just so we can better gauge, again, the agents that we have on today's training, what % of your Medicare clients do you discuss final expense with? That 0 to 24%, 25 to about 50%, 50 to 75, or 75 or greater. Most of you, as you're filling out this poll question, fall between that 0 and that 24%, which is why you are on today's training. So our goal in today's training is to help you become confident in talking to all of your Medicare clients about final expense. So that is our goal for today's webinar, is afterwards for you to always talk to your clients about final expense. And then next question for you all, because we also will be covering the CSG quoting tool to quote your final expense plans. How many of you have used CSG's quoting tool before? So have you used it, yes or no? So a lot of you have access to CSG through your Medicare Center login, so the CSG app is available to you there. The other options would be if you have your Upline brand quoting tool. They also offer you the ability to quote final expense on there, or maybe some of you have an individual subscription with us. So just trying to gauge how many of you have used the final expense quoting tool. Again, my goal for today's presentation is for you to feel confident selling it and quoting it and using CSG to quote your final expense plan. So about 33% of you said yes, you have used CSG. About 66% of you have said no. So I'm very happy to have you on today's training. Maybe you've used CSG to quote your Medicare plans, but not yet your final expense. Some may not know that that option is available. So just a couple of housekeeping items to make sure that we go over. One is we are recording today's webinar. So if you get interrupted, you have to take a phone call. We understand you're all working agents, so you can always rewatch this webinar afterwards. We will automatically send that out to you. And then secondly, if you have any questions as we're going through today's training, please feel free to type those questions into the questions box. I will be monitoring that throughout today's webinar, so we will make sure that we get all of your questions answered too. So Alan, with that being said, I am going to hand this over to you.
All right.
All right.
Let me make sure my screen pops up here. Great. Anna, can you see my screen?
I absolutely can.
Hey, well, first of all, thank you, Anna. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here. Really excited. I mean, we talked back when you first heard my presentation, and now with CSG being partners with Integrity, really excited about being here. I'm excited about the information you're going to share at the end here about the tools you have available, helping really agents be more successful, talking about final expense. And I am really passionate about it, just as you indicated as well, about being passionate for this, because when I got in the business, I was an agent selling Medicare supplement and final expense, and my manager brought me my stack of leads, and what he brought me was a phone book that I needed to look up people who were named Wilma and Elmer, because those would be people 65 years and older, and I really had to figure it out myself. And so now we have some great tools, great partners that we can really glean best practices on how to be successful. And as you indicated already, there's really such a need in the senior market about final expense. And what's happened with final expense is final expense sales continue to increase in this country. And so your clients, the agents that are on here, when they're seeing their Medicare clients, Medicare Advantage, those clients in many cases are buying final expense. It's time they start buying it from the agent. And we're going to provide them some tools and resources available today. And so I'm going to jump right into it. You see my screen today, and welcome. I'm from Dallas, Texas. That's our beautiful office in Dallas, Texas. I'm sitting on the 42nd floor right now. And so I'm glad to have you today. Glad I certainly value your time, and hopefully we're going to give you some great tools on how to go back and see your existing clients about final expense. And so we're going to give you a guide on how to be successful talking to your clients about final expense. I just want you to realize what kind of market you're in with the senior market. We've all heard the figure of 10,000 people turning 65 every day. Well, that's going to continue for another 12 or 15 years, but there's already over 100 million people between the ages of 50 and 80. Now, that's really important for you to know, because those are the sweet spots for people needing final expense. And out of that, 66% have no life insurance. 40% recognize they need more life insurance. So it really provides you a great opportunity, because this is such an underserved market, to help you serve your clients. And you know what the reality is? Everyone that you're going to see will pass away, and nobody gets out of here free. And with the carriers we have available, you have a great opportunity to serve your client and give them the coverage and the protection that they need. Also, as Anna talked about, the GoFundMe account is so prevalent in our country today, and it is not the new life insurance. Now, this was an article that was published a few years ago, but it's so real today. I wanted to make sure we included that. As Anna and I talked about this presentation, it's important for you to know, as the agent, the GoFundMe is not the solution. You have a better solution with final expense. Now, when people do the GoFundMe accounts, they receive less than $5,000 for burial expenses. Now, the average cost of a burial in this country is over $12,000. If you include family expenses, it's over $18,000. If somebody wants to get cremated, The average cost is over $7,000 as cremation. So even if they were to receive that top end of $5,000, in many cases, that's not even going to pay for the cremation. And the proceeds of the money that comes into the GoFundMe account, whoever receives that is considered taxable income. And so it's really an opportunity for you to serve clients, give them a tax-free benefit with life insurance final expense. It takes the hardship off the family and really provides them the coverage and helps them to be able to mourn properly when something does happen, and you're going to provide the funds needed to be able to take care of those clients' needs regarding final expenses. And as you see at the bottom of that screen, there are also deductions that are made by GoFundMe, and they also team up with WePay that take money away from the proceeds before you even receive that money. So really, the GoFundMe is not the new life insurance. You have a better solution talking to your clients regarding final expense. Why is it important to go back and see your existing clients? Because LIMRA says shoppers with a previous relationship with their agent, which many cases means they bought something from you. They know you, they've trusted you. If you go back and talk to them about final expense, life insurance, 78% of the time, they'll buy it from you if you just present it. Today, we're going to give you some tools on how to do that effectively. 78%. You're not going to get a better lead than that. It's really a great way to serve your client because they are buying final expense. It's time they start buying it from you. Now, the game changer that we're going to talk about today is Legacy Safeguard. Now, a couple of caveats about Legacy Safeguard. This is a program that was created by our CEO, Brian Adams, and it's a legacy planning service that you can provide to your client at no cost to your client. Now, in order to get access to Legacy Safeguard, you have to be contracted with one of Integrity's partners regarding final expense, and it is limited to certain carriers. And you'll have my contact information at the end of this, that if you want to find out what carriers are available, contact your partner of your your Integrity partner, or email me and I can help you and guide you in that. But this is an Integrity exclusive product, but it will help serve your clients and help you take your business to a new level. Now, what is Legacy Safeguard? Well, it's a comprehensive legacy planning, end-of-life planning service to help your clients leave a lasting legacy. See, everybody wants to leave a lasting legacy. They just don't know how to do it. Legacy Safeguard helps you help your client be able to leave that kind of legacy they want to leave to their loved ones or to the people they care about, and it doesn't cost your client anything. And for you as an agent, it really is a turnkey sales and marketing system that has proven to increase sales, persistency, and face amounts. And again, this is a benefit available to you because you partner with Integrity Marketing Group. Now, some of the benefits, we're going to just talk at a high level today, but if you want to find out more details, contact your Integrity partner or myself, and we can get you more details. But it's a legacy planning service, end-of-life planning guidance and assistance, support for survivors, estate planning support, celebrating life events. These are some very robust benefits available to your client to really help them leave that kind of legacy they want to leave. It does not cost your client anything, and it opens the door for you to have a conversation with your clients regarding final expense. And so, again, this is really exclusive to Integrity Marketing Group. In order to have access to Legacy Safeguard, you do have to get contracted with final expense through one of our Integrity partners, and we would be our partners would be more than glad to help you do that. But it will help you serve your clients and take your business to a new level. But really, what I also want to talk about is how to have this conversation with your clients, because maybe you're out there selling your clients and taking care of their Medicare needs, whether it's Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage. Maybe you've talked to them about hospital indemnity plans, cancer plans, maybe even some life insurance, but they need final expense. And so it's really important for you to talk to your clients about final expense. Now, first thing you have to do before you get to the house is you got to get your mind right. Because when you're talking to your clients, and I'll talk about this more in just a minute, you got to talk to them emotionally and logically. But for you to make a good first impression, you have to be able to get your mind right, because your tone of voice, your body language will speak volumes to your client. So visualize what you want to accomplish with your client before you get in there. Now, let me just give you an example, a real life example that I've experienced, and maybe many of you have as well. You walked into a place of business, you wanted to do something, some business there. The clerk turned around to work with you, and immediately you saw by their body language and their tone of voice, they're mad about something. They don't even want to wait on you. And you're looking around thinking, who else can I work with, because I don't want to work with this person? Well, your clients see the same thing in you. Your body language when you're approaching the house is really important, even if it's an existing client, because maybe it's been 6 months since you've been there. You want to take the time to make sure you have your mind right and that you are really presenting yourself. You only have one chance to make a good first impression. And then when you get there, your tone of voice is really important, because you have to get excited about what you're talking about. You have to say it with confidence, because if you don't, how do you expect your clients to get excited about it and feel that confidence coming from you? Because see, they may hear your presentation, but how they hear it has everything to do with your attitude, your tone of voice, and your body language. And so it's really important to take a minute and get your mind right. And then when you get to the house and start making that presentation, you have to talk to them emotionally as well as logically. Over 90% of Americans make decisions emotionally first, and then they logically justify why they're doing it. But you can't just talk to them about emotion. You've got to also talk to them logically, because you want them to be able to afford this long term. So logically, you want to make sure it fits their budget. And when they need this coverage 5, 6, 7, or 8 years from now, it can still be enforced because it fits within their budget. When you're talking to them, you want to certainly tell them the facts of the reality regarding final expense needs, but you need to also bring them along with some stories that will help them emotionally get involved in your story and your presentation, because emotionally and logically is where people will make their decisions. You do not ever want to give just a quote to your client, because what happens is, in many cases, you're going to give your client a quote, they're going to take that information and they're going to use it against you. And many times you will never close that sale, because see, if you just give them that information, it's information that they're not emotionally even involved in. But see, the reality is, these clients, if they're 65 years or older, they know the need regarding final expense, and you got to bring them emotionally into your discussion. And what you're going to hear from me is exactly how to be able to do that effectively, talking to your clients. And so when you're talking to them, whether you're talking to them and getting them signed up with Legacy Safeguard, or maybe it's even just a simple question of, if you were to die today, how would your family pay for your funeral? You need to transition into a discussion regarding final expense. And it goes like this: Bob and Mary, we believe part of leaving a lasting legacy is protecting your family from the unexpected cost and the burden of your final expenses. Now, the reason that's worded the way it is, it helps the clients start to get emotionally involved in what the need regarding final expense is. Because if they're 65 years or older, chances are almost 100% that they plan for a funeral for somebody. Because think about it, if they're 65 today, their parents were 30 when they're born, that means their parents would be 95. That's possible, but the life expectancy in this country is about 78.1. So chances are They plan for a funeral for their parents, their spouse's parents, maybe even a sibling. And we also know many times they've experienced the unexpected cost and the burden of final expenses. And so this helps start that story and get them emotionally involved in what you're saying. And so say, Bob, Mary, part of leaving a lasting legacy is protecting your family from the unexpected cost and the burden of your final expenses. And then you want to go into this, the reasons why people purchase final expense. Now, as you see on the screen, there are 3 reasons why many people buy final expense. You do not want to just state these 3 reasons. You want to paint a picture around each one of these. And this is how it works. Bob and Mary, as I'm the independent field underwriter for this area, and I was happened to be in the neighborhood today, helping people just like you regarding their final expenses. When I'm out here helping people in your area regarding final expenses, there are 3 reasons that always come up that people are looking at getting final expense protection. Now, one is they want to cover their final expenses. Bob and Mary, what that looks like is the average cost of a funeral in this country is $12,000. If you include family expenses, in addition to that, it's over $18,000. Or maybe they want to get cremated and it's over $7,000 just to do that. What they're looking at covering their final expenses is they don't want to leave the burden of those expenses as part of their legacy. They want to make sure they have a plan in place that will cover those final expenses. Does that make sense to you? The second reason people want to look at having final expense protection is because they want to replace some loss of income. Maybe the spouse passed away, Social Security goes down or gets reduced or goes away, or their pension goes down, gets reduced, or goes away. We want to make sure you can mourn properly. You don't have to adjust your budget to be able to cover these final expenses, that you have a plan in place that will help replace some of that lost income. Does that make sense to you? The third reason people are looking at getting final expense protection is they want to leverage their legacy. In other words, they want to be able to leave some money to the people they care about, whether it's a family member, maybe it's an organization. They feel like if they can leave a tax-free benefit as part of their legacy to the people they care about, that's important to them. Does that make sense to you? Now, Bob and Mary, as we look at these 3 reasons that seem to always come up when I'm helping people just like you regarding their final expenses, which one of those is most important to you? Now, when you make that statement, you've got to be silent. You've got to let them look at this. You just painted a picture. They're living in their own minds what their situation is, and they're going to tell you which one's important to them. They may say all 3, which is fine. You're going to use that when you get to your close regarding final expenses, but it's important for you to know what they're thinking about regarding final expenses. Now, they may say an objection right here. They could say, Alan, I really don't need this because I have life insurance. I welcome that response, and you should too, because with the carriers we have a great response that can help them, and it's very real. And my response is, Bob and Mary, that's great to hear. My most successful clients have life insurance just like you, but they needed final expense insurance, and let me tell you why. Because your life insurance will pay out, but it's going to take a death certificate in most cases for it to pay out. To get a death certificate takes 3 or 4 weeks usually. Then you're going to send it to the carrier. The carrier has many times up to 60 days to pay those claims. In the meantime, the funeral home or the crematory want their money up front. We work with final expense carriers that will pay their death benefit out on a phone call without a death certificate, usually within 24 to 48 hours, which takes the burden off your loved ones and the people you care about having to come up with as much as $18,000 to cover those final expenses, that they will pay that out within 24 to 48 hours. Does that make sense to you? You want to also ask them some follow-up questions, because that helps them continue down this path of understanding the need regarding final expense. Have you and your spouse ever had to plan for a funeral? Let them tell you their story. It's important to hear that. When they tell you your story, ask them how much that funeral cost that they had to plan. Most cases, they know that cost. They'll probably tell you within the dollar of how much it cost. It's also important to say how long ago was that, because they may have planned for a funeral and it was like $8,000, but when you ask them how long ago that was, it may have been 8 years ago. Well, prices have certainly changed in the last 8 years. And so if it was 8 years ago, I'd say to them, Bob and Mary, that story you just referred to regarding planning that funeral was $8,000. I'm sure it was a beautiful memorial service. But if it cost $8,000 8 years, 8 years ago, how much do you think that funeral would cost today? And then again, you got to remain silent, because they're going to realize it would cost more today. And whatever number they give you, that's okay, but it helps set the tone for you to help them understand how much they need regarding their final expenses. And so we really get into how to estimate their final expenses. And we have a worksheet that goes right along with this to walk through with your clients, because we break final expenses really into 3 categories when we're talking to clients about final expenses. One is the funeral expenses, which are the expenses that happen at the funeral home or the cemetery. And then we want to also include family expenses, which many times is credit card debt, hospital bills, might be rent, mortgage, taxes. You want to make sure you know what those additional family expenses are, because even though somebody passes away, there are expenses that come due. And you want to include that when you're talking to your client about final expenses. And then we have a third category we call total final expenses. That's adding the funeral expenses to the family expenses, equaling their total final expenses. Now, just so you know, a note about family expenses, what I do with my clients is I talk to them what their monthly expenses are. I also want to include if there's any new medical expenses. I want to make sure that's in there as well. And then whatever that is, I take it out 90 days. Now, I may extend it depending on the circumstances, but I at least take it out 90 days, and that's the number I put in there. And then, as you walk through this with your clients, it's important that the numbers that show up on this worksheet are their numbers. It's not yours. And so we want to make sure that this plan is personal to your client. If these are your numbers, this won't be personal to them. And so then you're going to plug it in, as you see in the worksheet at the bottom, what the family expenses are. And in this case, it's $6,000. The funeral expenses are $10,640. And then the total final expenses, $16,640. That's going to take you right into the 3-option close. You always want to give your client options. And so you see this: family expenses, $6,000, funeral expenses, $10,640, total final expenses, $16,640. Each of those are going to represent a face amount. You want to find out how old your clients are and then put the monthly expense in there. Now, if it's a husband and wife, there's another slot there, as you see in the box. I'm going to put the spouse's number in there as well, because obviously the prices will be different for the male or female. So make sure that you put that in there, what their spouse's figures are, so they can see it. And then here's how the 3-option close works. Bob and Mary, as we walk through these final expenses for you, we see your family expenses are about $6,000. Your estimated funeral expenses are $10,640. Your total final expenses are $16,640. In order to make sure the burden of these final expenses are taken care of and not left to your loved ones, which one of these best meets your budget? When you make that statement, you've got to be silent. You've got to let them live in this moment. Your silence will make what you just shared with them even more valuable. Don't be like I did when I was early on as an agent. I couldn't be quiet. I would talk myself right out of the sales. But you've got to be silent. Once you've closed and asked that question, You got to sit back in your chair and let them look this over, because these are their numbers. They're looking at it and trying to decide which one they can best meets their budget and which one they can afford. Once they've chosen one, you want to go right into that assumptive close and go right into the application and start filling it out. Now, typically, I just take the application, or if I'm typing it out on the computer. Now, Alan, do you spell that Allen? Or Bob and Mary, is that Robert or is it Bob? What? How do you address that? What's your legal name? And I put that in there. Over 80% of your clients will let you close the sale just like you started. Now, if they have an objection, it's going to come up right then. But that's okay. If they have an objection, you want them to ask it, because you're going to just give them more information. An objection is nothing more than they just are requiring more information from you to be able to say yes. And then you're going to turn that objection into the very reason why your clients will buy. We have some great resources on how to make this whole presentation. I'm giving you some high overviews today on how to do this effectively, but we also have how to overcome objections, kind of an objection handbook, if you will, on how to be effective, helping your clients, serving their need regarding final expense. But once you've closed the sale, you're not done. We want you to ask for referrals. Now, the number one reason agents don't get referrals is because they don't ask. Using Legacy Safeguard opens an opportunity for you to get referrals. 91% of your customers say they give you referrals. Only 11% of you are even going to ask. We're going to show you how to ask effectively here in just a minute. As part of Legacy Safeguard and using this program, a referral really is your ability to ask for referrals is a direct reflection on your belief in what you do. See, we have a great opportunity in this business. We get to serve clients, help them in some of their toughest days, planning for their better days ahead. And you want to help as many people as you can. And so they know many times clients just like themselves that need your help. So ask for referrals, and here's how you do it. Bob and Mary, now that you're a member of Legacy Safeguard, as part of leaving a lasting legacy, we believe you can help others leave one too. As a member of Legacy Safeguard, you can sponsor up to 6 people to receive the same free Legacy Safeguard membership benefits that you just received. Who might you know that would like to leave a lasting legacy? Now, when I was an agent and using this program, I handed this to my clients and they would give me 6 referrals. Many times a husband and wife, they gave you more than 6. And absolutely, I'll take more than 6. I'll write them on the back. But I have a friend of mine that's a great agent, and he uses a little different approach. He hands this to them, then he takes it back and says, you know what, Bob and Mary, I'm so busy that even if you gave me 6 people, I don't have enough time to do that. And he crosses the bottom 2 out, hands it back to them, and he says, now give me your top 4. And every time he does that, he gets 4 referrals. You want to take your business to a new level and keep down your marketing costs? Ask for referrals. This legacy program is a value-added benefit you're going to be able to have and provide to your clients. That is, if you're contracted with one of our integrity partners, but then it's a great way to build your business and ask for referrals. I love this quote by Michael Jordan. You can achieve whatever you want in this business. Are the habits you have today on par with your dreams you have for tomorrow? See, this is Michael Jordan as a pro looking at Michael Jordan as a college player. That's true for everyone that's listening to this presentation. Are your habits you have today on par with what you want to accomplish in this business? See, you didn't come this far to just come this far. Your clients need your help. You want to give yourself a raise this year? Add final expense to what you're doing. We have the tools and the resources, and especially with what you're going to hear from Anno and CSG, you have some great resources available to help take your business to a new level. You are closer than you think to having the best year ever, adding final expense to what you do, they need your help and you have the solutions, this is my contact information. Please reach out to me. I'd be more than glad to help you in any way I can. Your clients do need your help, and we have the solutions to be able to help you and help your clients plan for the better days ahead. Anna, thank you very much, and I'm here if there's any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. We do have a lot of questions that have come in, so I'm going to get to that. One of the questions that I'm getting every couple of seconds is this being recorded? It absolutely is. You will all receive a copy of today's presentation afterwards. You'll receive that automated email from info@CSG Actuarial. I'll also show you where we post all of our webinars on our website here in a little bit. If you want a copy of the slide deck, go ahead, jot down Alan's email here that we have on the screen. If you have any further questions about his presentation, again, jot down his email. He will be happy to provide you those slides or talk to you through any questions that you may have. Alan, a couple of questions that we do have that I want to address is, can you talk a little bit more about when you were saying the family expenses, so coming up with those family expenses? Can you give a couple of examples of what those are?
Yes, yeah, no, great question. And yes, so when I'm talking to my clients, I want them to realize, even if, and I'm going to go into a couple of things here. So many times they'll say, well, I'm literally contemplating going to a funeral home and getting a pre-need plan or a plan at the funeral home. And many times I want to make sure they realize there are expenses that still come due, even if they have done that or are doing that. And so when I talk to them about that, first of all, if they say they're thinking about a funeral home, you as an agent need to realize in many cases that you can provide them double the coverage for the same amount of money they would pay for a plan at the funeral home. And so it's important for you to know that. And the final expense plan many times is more flexible than what they're getting at the funeral home. But having said all that, family expenses, I want to make sure I know what their monthly expenses are, because many times they're set on a certain income that's coming in, whether it's only Social Security or it's Social Security and a pension plan or some investments. I want to know what their expenses are that are coming due. And so I'm going to ask them about their rent or mortgage. Do they own their house? Is that gone away? Is there credit card debt? Are there other, do they pay taxes? What are your monthly expenses you currently, your utilities? What do you pay on a monthly basis? And then whatever that is, I take that out I start with 90 days, but depending on the situation, if they lost income or not, do they have some other life insurance or something that's going to pay out later? I want to make sure I'm bridging that gap. That's really what I'm doing, is bridging the gap from when somebody passes away and when those expenses really are due, or when other income is going to start coming in.
Perfect. We have so many questions, and I love that. So I want to just spend, before we jump into all of these particular questions, I do want to make sure that I am able to cover my portion of it to show you how to quote these particular final expense plans, so you can make sure you work that out on your worksheet. So Alan, I'm going to take over presenter roles from you and share my screen. And I promise my portion will be very quick. I always say the CSG quoting tool is so easy to use that it doesn't take me too long to show you all how to use it. And I promise we will get back to all of your questions. And if we don't answer your questions, I will send all of those questions over to Alan so he can make sure that he answers them if we're not able to hear live. So many of you have access to CSG a few different ways. One is if you have access through your Integrity upline. They all have their own brand quoting tools, so you may see something like this on your screen. It's just branded to your upline. The other option would be if you have access into Medicare Center. So Medicare Center is Integrity's platform. We do have our software housed inside Medicare Center. So in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, if you click on your name, You can drop down to CSG app, and that opens up the CSG Actuarial quoting platform that I have here on my screen. It's just branded as far as Medicare Center. So on CSG, for those of you that are unfamiliar with CSG, we do quote a variety of different products. We quote MedSup, Medicare Advantage, Final Expense, Hospital Indemnity, and Senior Dental. So just to quickly show you how you can run your Final Expense plans on CSG is just go ahead on that tool section, hit Run Quote, and then it will pull up the screen here for you. Now, it is important to note that if you are using CSG through Medicare Center or maybe through your upline, I see that I got paused here on my screen, so I apologize for that. I'm just going to take my video off here. I'm sorry about that. If you are using the CSG quoting platform, you will see 100% of the Final Expense market. So we do quote a lot of carriers. They may be carriers that you're not contracted with. If you want to get contracted with some of these carriers, make sure that you are talking to your Integrity upline about the different companies that they have contracts for. So you will see a lot of different companies in here. To run a quote, very simple, easy to do. Go ahead and enter in your client's zip code, their age, their gender, their tobacco status. And then as far as running the quote, we have some different options here. So it defaults to a $10,000 face value. As Alan mentioned, the average burial cost is up to $12,000. So if you wanted to adjust that face value amount here, you absolutely can do that. And then you can select a different product type, whether you're looking for a graded benefit, a level benefit, return of premium, modified, depending on what type of plan you're looking for. If you want to quote all of them, you can select that all option there. And then whether you're looking for a plan that has underwritten or is a guarantee issue plan, you have those options. Now, any type of plans that are considered simplified issue are still going to be incorporated within that fully underwritten. Every company kind of defines simplified a little bit differently in the question. So any type of underwriting is going to be full, or you have those guarantee issue. Now, what I really like about our tool is that you could also quote it as a monthly rate. So if you are going through your client's budget and they do have a certain dollar amount they could allocate towards a Final Expense plan, maybe that's $50. You can just type in $50 here, and it will bring up any plans that are $50, and it will vary based upon face value amount. So you do have some different cross-selling opportunities there if you wanted to use that monthly rate instead of the face value. You do have some different options to sort by. I would say most of the time agents are sorting by price, but if you wanted to sort by different type of AM Best or S&P ratings, you do have that option available for you as well. So once you're ready, go ahead and hit that Get Quote. Again, we are going to display several carriers that are in the market. Wait for the screen here to load. All right, so on here, a couple of things I want to point out to you just really quickly. If you ever need to make a change to your quote, you can always just quickly adjust that here at the top and re-hit Get Quote. You don't have to go back to the full quote results page. But as you can see here I'm scrolling through several different carriers that we have in the quoting tool. We do label the plan types here so you can look for the plan that you're looking to quote. We do notify you of any annual fees. Over here on the left-hand side, you can apply those annual fees to your monthly premium. So if I would uncheck mark apply fees, it then takes those annual fees out of the equation. Again, if you want to apply those, make sure that it's check marked. If you want to adjust the premium, so it's showing an annual rate instead of a monthly, you can do annual, quarterly, semi-annual, up to you on how you want to quote that. And then we do have application health questions. So if you are going through an underwritten application and you want to take a look at the look back period of the application, in most cases we will have underwriting data for the carriers. There are some carriers that we don't have underwriting data for, but you can select those application health questions, and then it will tell you over on the right-hand side what the look back period on that application is. So 2-year, 5-year, 10-year, ever. We're going to be able to define some of those companies underwriting there for you up front. Now, in most cases, you're going to want to do a comparison. You may want to stack different plans side by side. As Alan kind of showed in his worksheet, he gave them 3 different plan options, and then he said, be silent. Let your client tell you which plan they want to go with. So you can do that within CSG as well. So maybe you do want to provide different face value amounts. What you can do is you can come in here, you can select this compare button. You can click that compare box, turns the bar green, it puts your plan into the upper left-hand corner here. You can then come up here and quickly adjust. Maybe you want to look at that same plan, but it's a $15,000 face value amount. You can quickly make your face value amount of change up here and then hit get quote. And I know I'm having a little bit of a lag time between my computer and my keyboard and then go to webinar, but you can, again, you can make this adjustment here right at the top. Now it's catching up to me. Hit get quote, and then all the premiums would then adjust to that new face value amount. So really use your comparison tool to be able to stack your different plans side by side. CSG makes it really easy to do that with our compare quotes, but we also have a universal compare quotes, where your universal compare quotes allows you to stack different products side by side. So a Medicare supplement plan next to a final expense plan, so you can put those 2 together. Now, Alan, I'm going to ask a question to you because this question came up in the questions box as I kind of demo how to do this live, just to kind of save some time. Talk about any type of rules or regulations that an agent can talk to their clients about final expense on the Medicare supplement client side and the Medicare Advantage side. Are there any type of rules that they have to follow when talking about life insurance final expense to their Medicare clients?
Yes, that's a great question. So and I'll address Medicare Advantage first. For Medicare Advantage, you cannot talk to them about life insurance or final expense at the same time you're talking to them about the Medicare Advantage. You have to wait 48 hours to go back and talk to them about final expense. So make sure that you know what your state regulations are regarding the Medicare Advantage, because CMS really sets those guidelines, and make sure you adhere to those. And you want to find out what that is if you're unclear. For Medicare supplements, you can talk to them, excuse me, at the same time as you talk about a Medicare supplement. That's up to you. I can tell you the way I did business as an agent. I was very long-winded, and so I usually would take care of a Medicare need, but then I would come back and use the legacy program to open up the door to give them a value-added benefit, and then talk to them about final expense on a separate appointment, only because I was long-winded and I didn't want to overstay my welcome with them on the Med Sup side, and so I did it in 2 separate appointments. But you personally, there is no regulations from that standpoint on Med Sup. Medicare Advantage, different story. You got to follow the CMS guidelines.
All right, perfect. Thanks for that. And as Alan was explaining that, I'm showing you how to do this universal comparison. So essentially, you can run your quote, whether that's MedSup first, Medicare Advantage, and then run your final expense. Use this globe icon over here on the right-hand side. That's your universal compare. When you click on that globe icon, it turns the bar purple, and it puts your plan into your compare quotes box. That way you can pull up their plans or their coverage, or have a print off for yourself here where you have their Medicare supplement, you have their final expense for your own records as well, and you can save that as a PDF, and you can also print that off. So that's how you can do those side-by-side comparisons within CSG. Now I'm going to go into some questions here. Before I do that, I do just want to point everybody to the CSG website for you to get a little bit more information, or if you need to ever contact us. Our phone number is here. If you visit csgactuarial.com, our phone number is in the upper left-hand corner, as well as our email. So if you have any questions about our final expense quoting, you can always reach out to us directly on that. Underneath our Learning Center, we do have great tutorial videos that walk through the process of how to run a final expense quote, how to do those different comparisons within CSG. So we're going to have that there on the screen here, and then I will pull back up the quoting tool, and then let's get to some questions that we have. Alan, if an agent wanted to better understand the estimates of a funeral, what are some resources that they can do to figure out those costs for their clients?
Sure. So certainly part of the legacy program, which I didn't go into today, we have a final expense estimator that can help you in that regard. We put a zip code in that final expense estimator and can help. But I also know if you just Google it in your area, there'll be all kinds of resources that come up. But I personally like our final expense estimator that allows agents to use that with their client.
Okay, perfect. Let's see here. There are a couple of kind of hurdles that some individuals kind of typed in here. So if somebody had an old final expense plan, so as you mentioned during the presentation, if they had a plan that was sold to them 10 years ago, and now with the cost changing for certain plans, what would you recommend to an agent to get their client on a better final expense plan, or what are some best practices for that?
Yeah, so that's great. That really comes down to each individual client, because you don't ever want to certainly hurt the client. You want to do what's best for them. And so it may not be replacing anything. It may be just adding to it. For example, if they just bought a $5,000 plan and they bought it a bunch of years ago, I would walk through them really what they want to, what their plan is. Do they want a funeral? Do they want to be cremated? I use that worksheet to help them realize what those expenses could be today, and do they need something that's going to help bridge that gap from what the plan they currently have to what the expenses are today. I would want to probably supplement that. It depends on the situation though, because there's a lot of variables that can enter into that, and I would want to look at it all, because I want to know if they're still paying on it. Is it a plan that has cash value to it? But you always want to take the best interest of your client and do what's best for them. And if that means they have coverage and you need to walk away from that, then that's fine. That's what you do, because we're in this business for the long haul. You want to do what's best for the client.
Doug has a question. Are you able to share the companies that don't require that death certificate?
If they want to email me, I can respond to that. I can't respond to that today.
Perfect. Yep. So maybe, Alan, can I give you back the presenter so I can pull up all of your contact information, because I do have some agents that are requesting the presentation. So I do want to make sure that they have your contact information so they can reach out to you directly. I'm going to make you the presenter again really quickly here.
It should be up on the screen.
Yep, so we have it up on the screen. I'm going to leave that up here, so if you need to write that down, save it, you have that. Another question, Peter has a question. He says, one hurdle I have experienced with Medicare clients are the knockout health questions. There are level, graded, and modified policies available, but only the level policies offer day one coverage. Some clients think a carrier is trying to provide them coverage if they have health issues, since there are no guarantees. Any suggestions on how to address these concerns?
Well, so if they're concerned because they're not getting day one coverage, that you have to essentially talk to them about their health and issues, because that's why they're getting a graded plan. There are guaranteed issue plans available for clients, but again, that graded, you just need to have them address that, because they're not going to get coverage, especially if you've done the research to know that with the carriers that are available, that they're going to be graded no matter where they go. because depending on the situation, that may be true. I would make sure I've exhausted all of that though with my clients, because people and carriers look at some conditions differently, and some conditions are considered level with one carrier, and they may be graded with another. So you want to make sure you've exhausted that before you have to have that discussion with them. And if you have had that discussion with them, or I'm sorry, you've done that research and you need that discussion, you just have to walk them through it so they understand. And you need to understand the carrier that you're looking at, because the graded situations and how they pay out can vary a little bit by the carrier. So you want to make sure you understand how that is, whether it's a premium plus a certain percentage back, or is it a certain percentage of the death benefit. Those variables can be different by the carrier. So you want to make sure you understand those when you're talking to your client.
Great. All right, one last question, and this is because I've had this question come up a couple of different times. What are the restrictions to final expense plans? What can you use that benefit for? And what's really the difference between final expense and life insurance? I know you covered that a little bit, but if you want to just kind of reiterate the importance of final expense, maybe your client does have a life insurance, but why they also need a final expense.
Sure. So great question. The life insurance, in many cases, they are going to end up, depending on what their face amounts are, they're going to have to get a physical, maybe even pee in a cup and things like that for life insurance. There's a lot more extensive health questions to ask. The simplified issue is exactly that, simplified. And so it really is a basis on, 12, maybe 15 questions, pretty basic. They're going to get coverage in most cases, yes or no. Maybe they'll get a graded plan, but the client does not have to go get a physical. They don't have to go pee in a cup. They can get that coverage quickly. It's easier. It's issued quicker than life insurance. And as we indicated earlier, your life insurance will pay out, but in life insurance, you're going to have a death certificate. To get a death certificate can take 3 or 4 weeks. Final expense carriers, we have carriers that will pay their benefit. Not all final expense carriers, but many of the carriers will pay their death benefit out within 24 to 48 hours on a phone call, and that helps speed up the access to those death benefits to the clients. I will say that in most cases, life insurance or final expense does pay out even quicker, even if it's not a person or a carrier that does it in 24 to 48 hours. Typically, their death benefits are paid out quicker than normal life insurance. Now, I say all that too. One thing I need to put a caveat in there is that's outside of the contestability period, because there's always in life insurance, there's always a 2-year contestability period that the client or the insurance companies want to make sure a person can lie about their health. And so if they would pass away and it was about a question that's in there that they answered incorrectly, the company wants to make sure that they took the risk on based off of how they answered those questions. So it's important to note that. But after the contestability period, that's where that 24 to 48 hours comes in.
Great. Well, I know we are at our hour limit here. I know we did not get to everyone's question. So if we did not answer your question, if it's CSG related, go ahead, send us an email, send myself an email. You should all have my email from getting invites to our webinars. And then Alan's email is also on here. So you can absolutely reach out to him. I hope you all got a lot of good information. I hope you're all taking notes. I have my notes right here that I was writing. And a couple of things that really stood out to me in today's presentation is making sure that you are incorporating that emotion to it. Personal story that I'll share with you is my husband and I, we have life insurance. We do not have final expense insurance. And after a a friend's husband unexpectedly passed away, and watching her go through the struggle that she had to go through burying her husband, that same week we reached out to our insurance agent and we said, you have to get us on a life insurance or a final expense insurance plan too. So feel free to share those stories. I mean, I explain there's certain pieces of my life where I got an insurance plan because I saw something happen to somebody else that I want to avoid that for myself and for my children. So use that emotion, use that, being silent, being able to do your comparisons, using CSG to do your comparisons, using that worksheet, and being silent, let them talk. And I know Alan shared with you a quote on his presentation, but if you want more inspiring quotes, follow Alan on LinkedIn. Every single day he has a great quote out there. And today's quote that he shared with you, I saw it as I was getting ready this morning, was about making it a great day. Don't just have a great day, but make it a great day. And hopefully we made your day today by giving you guys the tools to help you sell final expense. So I hopefully we've made it a great day for you. Alan, any last words to share with our agents here today?
Anna, thank you very much for putting this together. It was my honor to be here. Hopefully we've given you some good tools. I'm really passionate about helping agents really take their business to a new level. I'm here to help you. I know Anna is too. We're here to help you and help you serve more clients, helping them plan for the better days ahead. And I really appreciate the time, Anna. This is wonderful. I'm glad you put this together.
Yeah, so I'm happy. It was like 5 months in the making, but we made it work. We made it work.
That's right.
So I'm so happy to be able to share this all with you. It's all going to be posted on our website. We'll email everybody the recording so they all have access to it. And again, reach out to us if you have any questions. We're here to help you be successful in any way that we can. So make it a great day, everybody, and we will see you later.
Thanks, Anna.